Everyone, and welcome to the Patricia Raskin Positive Living Show right here on voiceamerica.com, America's Voice. We're in our 23rd year on Voice America and very proud of it. This is the program that shows you how to turn your problems into solutions and your obstacles into opportunities and make your dreams come true. And today we're talking about something that seems like common sense, but it really isn't. It's how do we talk? How do we present ourselves effectively? And it's an art, it's a skill. And we have the absolute expert on all the way from Australia to tell us about it. Dr. Gary Woolman, PhD, is known as the presentation doctor. He is a seasoned, highly experienced speaker, trainer, author, and an internationally recognized communication skills coach. And he specializes in presentation skill training for a wide cross in the professional community. It could be a director, it could be management teams, presenters, performers, entrepreneurs. He's also had a lot of experience in team building and conflict resolution. And he also is a speaker's mentor. So he really helps to have more impact and effectiveness for live and recorded presentations for the people that he works with. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you, Patricia.
And thank you for getting up so early. It is 5 a.m. in Australia. And it
I
is,
didn't get up
no,
at all. I've been up awake all night.
oh,
And the joke is on me because actually it's April Fool's Day here in Australia, and
that's
yours
right,
is
because
coming tomorrow.
that's right, because I'm the day before you. So I'm on the
Yeah,
East Coast, so I'm 2 p.m. the day before. That's really something. Well, and this show's evergreen, so people may hear this a year or two from now, but
fine.
it's April 1st in
Yep.
Australia, 2025. All
Yes.
right. So Gary, we hear performers all the time. We hear presenters all the time. We hear people who captivate us. We hear people who bore us. We hear people where we shut them off. We hear people where we just listen because we're fascinated. Is there any one key to making this work? Is it tone, personality, style, words? Is it everything? What do you think?
In one word, Patricia,
Yes.
engagement. It's
Yeah.
all about engaging with my gestures, my visual gestures, my vocal sounds, and my verbal delivery. Those three V's together, integrated, makes a powerful, pungent, poignant,
Right.
passionate, precious presentation.
Love it. Love the peas. Now, even if you don't like the person, let's say you don't like their message, but they're a very powerful speaker. If they have those things you mentioned, do you think they'll stay with you?
Well, the message may stay with me, yet the person certainly won't. The main elements that stay with all of us as a receiver are the stories and the
Mhm.
gestures. I will
Mhm.
remember the gestures that a speaker presents with, particularly when they make pictures. I do this quite well, and I do this all the time of what they're saying, showing their telling, so their telling becomes compelling. You see, I'm doing this with my hand gestures, and I'm doing that consciously, knowing that you will hear me, see me, and better remember what you just asked
Right.
me, the message through my messaging, by interacting
So
with
let
you.
let me say this because we are going audio only. I am recording this video, and you can probably
That's
see the
right.
thing on Gary's site. But if you're on the Lipson site and listening, you can go to Gary's website and you can see him presenting and you can see the hand gestures and exactly what he's talking about. Okay. And your website again, Gary, is
My presentation doctor, all spelled out, .com.
Mhm. Okay. All
Yep.
right.
And thanks for
So
reminding me that we're on audio because I'm so visual that now I'm going to make pictures with my words, realizing that you, the audience, you are seeing me through your imagination and the tones of my voice. Now you can
yeah.
understand, can hear
Right.
me shifting my voice tone more so you can hear me and see me more easily.
So Gary. if you have someone who's just more of a natural, right? I mean, they can just get up and perform. It's easy for them. Do they still have to practice? Is there still a skill? Is this a skill, or is this a natural born talent, or is it both?
Yes, and it's both. It's both. I've been speaking professionally for, I'm 73 now, for 50 years. And it started out when I was actually very scared about speaking and presenting. And yet I had won the award in my high school in New York City, Horace Mann Private School, for the one senior student who had the best combination of academics on one hand. You can imagine me putting one hand up in the air. Yes, that's right. And on the other hand, athletics. So academics and athletics. And what have discovered is, please ask me your question again. I just lost my train of thought.
Well, I was asking you if it's a natural
Oh,
talent
natural. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
or is it
So
learned or both?
yeah, so I was terrified when I accepted that award. I was standing up on stage and I was shaking like a leaf. I was 18 years old. And then when I got into transformational body therapies and created my own method, moved to San Francisco in my early 20s, I had to speak about this very innovative form of stretching the muscles while speaking in rhyme to shift patterns and multi-sensorize people's self-talk. I've been doing this for ages. And at first, it was scary for me, but by practicing it, it became natural. The
Mhm,
best speakers memorize and then let go of memorizing. That's what I do.
mhm.
I now I put the speech in little bite-sized pieces, A to B, B to C, paragraph A, paragraph B,
Mhm,
put them
mhm.
together, and then I'm able to go through A, B, C, D, and after that, I can like playing a piano by heart. Move my
Yes.
fingers and move my hands, move my body, move my expression, and the most important part, move the audience.
Now you talk a lot about, hand gestures and visuals. So, and in your work, in your books and on your website, you talk a lot about body-centered tools. What
That's
are
right.
they and how do you help people with them?
Yeah. Body-centered tools, Patricia, are tools that are focused not on the talking head, intellectual, philosophical way of speaking. Many speakers, many people who I've coached even some of the best speakers in the world. They're full of information and are often getting in their own way, thinking, oh, the audience, particularly people who are just starting out, really need to hear all this information to prove
Hmm.
I'm credible. And the
Yeah.
truth is, it's not the information. It's the, as I keep saying, coming back to the very first word I shared with you, engagement. And that sense, exactly that, by appealing to as many of the senses as possible, that rivets the audience's attention way more than the intellect. Most speakers are talking heads, and a lot of my work is to have them connect their head, their heart, their gut feelings, their body. So, to use, I love rhyming, their expression as though they are having a fresh stand of command in their land. So they're visceralizing, so the audience is visualizing a much more profound presentation, to have people move on the stage to punctuate their different points in different spaces on the stage. So when I'm speaking about a particular subject that's dear to my heart as a speaker, when I go to a particular sacred spot on the stage, even before I go back there again, the audience knows what I'm going to talk about because I've trained myself, years of being a springboard diver, training myself to move through space and to do very precise movement and to land in a very focused way. So I do this on the stage, on the platform, and teach this, the skills of the online stage, moving from left to right, right to left, punctuating one's points to choreograph the message makes the
Mm.
meaning, makes the message more memorable.
So the audience moves with you. The audience is moving.
Exactly.
moving, almost like when you watch dancers, right? You
Hmm.
watch the ballet, your eye is moving with them so you don't miss anything. Yeah, really
Exactly.
fascinating.
And when
Fascinating.
the speaker is consistent enough, disciplined enough, as I am, to have this story be in that part of the stage, this message being in that part of the stage, whether it's online or the physical platform, the
Yeah,
audience is trained to know what the
interesting.
speaker is going to say because they get familiar with the area. So this is actually training the audience to listen to the choreography underlying the message. It's quite a powerful, simple, and magical technique.
It really is. Gary, why is it that so many people are afraid of public speaking? It's one of the top fears, if not the number one fear.
Next to death, sometimes even more than death. I've heard the same statistic.
Yeah, why is that, do you think?
Well, I know that's more than think. I've been around the block a few times, so I see what it is. It's the fear of rejection. It's the fear of public humiliation. It's the childhood wounds that get exacerbated and are brought up again when the audience boos or someone heckles or they forget their lines. The feeling of I'm going to be rejected, I'm going to be outcast, and it's a tremendously humiliating feeling to have that. To turn it around, there are very tools and techniques that work. For example, let's say a speaker forgets their lines. It's so easy to say, "Oh, I forgot my lines," like I did with you earlier. I lost my train of thought, and then you
Yeah.
reminded me, and I got right back to it. But I could either embarrass myself on stage, or I can say, "What I've been telling you is, what I'm just told you is, and what I'm going to be telling you is," so it's like going through a skid, no longer being afraid of being rejected. So the next point would be, where are we going to go from here? The audience doesn't need to know that you forgot your lines, but shifting it into an elegant lyrical framework. Where are we going to go from here? What I've
Mm-hmm.
been telling you, what I am telling you, and then you get back on track. It's
Mm-hmm.
the fear of rejection that people are sitting with over and over again. One time, I was giving a coaching session to a group of international movement specialists from all over the world in Hawaii. And one man stood up and he was telling me that he forgot his lines when he is leading. He teaches a five rhythm dance class in New York City. And I brought him up after the break in front of this group of about 30 different dancers, movement specialists from all over the world. And I said, "What's really going on? What's really in the way when you're afraid or that you forget your lines?" And he started to tremble and he started to shake
Wow.
and he started to cry and he started to say, "I grew up in New York City, and when I was growing up, I was bullied and I was so put down by so many people for so many years that when I," then he starts waterfalling of tears, "stand
Mm.
up in front of my class, and I feel like people are going to attack me." And so his vulnerability in front of the room being witnessed helped him shift the condition. And we then
Interesting.
created a new self-talk with him. What's your new self-talk? I
So he
love
faced
being
his fear. He faced it. He actually
He
went right
he
through the
faced
door.
it and he voiced it and he was witnessed with it and it was so moving to the audience. This is an audience of students that I was teaching that
Mm,
one after another got out there and said, "You're the teacher. You're the kind of teacher I want to work with. Someone who
mm,
is honoring their vulnerability as strength rather than having to hold a stiff over up or whatever and having to look good. The fact that you are able to now say, I love being seen. It's safe for
mm,
me to be seen and heard was a
mm.
huge shift. But he first had to face the pain, like you said. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, go through the door. And most people don't, right? We hold it in and then our body gets attacked. We get sick, we have headaches,
We create
and
another form of attack. That's right.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah. All right, we're going to take a break and let me share a few things about Gary Woolman, who is the presentation doctor. He is a highly seasoned, experienced speaker, trainer, author, and internationally recognized communication skills coach around the world for directors, leaders, teams, presenters, formers, entrepreneur, and he's been doing this for many decades. When we come back, we're going to talk about how do we transform some of the negative talk that prevents us maybe from speaking up or speaking out or speaking in a group. We'll talk about some strategies for leaders as well, some more of Gary's amazing personal stories, and maybe, some of the other things Gary does in his performing, beside giving presentations, and how he really started in all of this, and maybe how he journeyed from New York to Australia, which is quite a space. So when we come back, we're going to talk all about that. You're listening to the Patricia Raskin Positive Living Show right here on voiceamerica.com, America's Voice. And Gary, you're doing great for 5 a.m. the next day. We'll be right
It
back.
always revives me, Patricia. I come
Right.
alive when I present. I was made for
Thank you.
this.
Right. All right. We'll be right back, everyone.
All right, excellent. Good segment. We are clear.
Great. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Let's talk a little, because you're such a storyteller. Let's talk a little bit about your journey to Australia. And,
Sure.
and haven't you done things like you've been a clown and you've been different? I'd love you to talk about that too. And then
Yeah,
we'll talk about some more strategies. But your stories are
sure.
so great. And just,
Yeah.
and also, I think how you evolved to really being
How
one
I
of the top
evolved.
people in your field.
Yeah, it's been an amazing journey, Patricia.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. And it's your life's work. I know that well. I know what life's work is all about. It's wonderful and it can be tough at times.
It's been getting easier over the decades. I
Yeah,
feel more a sense of belonging and connection. And as an elder now, I really feel respected for what I've developed over 50 years and
yeah.
more.
Isn't that great? We didn't mention the name of your book. So give me that so I can mention that.
Can you see it? Get
No,
up,
tell it to me.
stand up for your life. Get up, stand up for your life. Available on Amazon and audible.com and from
Get up,
myself directly.
stand up for your life.
Get up, stand up for your life. You see it right here? I'm pointing at it. This is the book.
Yep.
This is the cover. Me
Okay.
leaping from a cliff
Yeah,
into the water.
I didn't have that, but that's okay because
Sure.
now I can ask you, is this your
Hmm.
newest book?
No, I wrote it about 14 years ago.
Okay, well, and you have more than one book, but let's just mention this book, right? Unless you want to mention another book.
No, what we can mention is the other things that I have available
Right,
that are on the
right,
website and other
right,
ways that I help
right. Okay.
my
So when
YouTube
we come
channel
back,
and
let's
different
talk
things.
a little bit about your story and kind
Sure.
of, the
Yep.
evolution. And
Yep. I do this all the time, Patricia. Sometimes 2, 3 times a week I'm on podcasts. So it's really natural and easy for me to have this conversation.
I know, I just hope you're going to be able to sleep after this.
No, we have had huge flooding at the center where I live, a permaculture community at the top of a mountain, and we've had so much flooding that bridges have been disappeared. I'm supposed to fly to Canada for a big speaking engagement on Friday, but it could get all so swamped out, a meter of water here, that I have to leave in 4 hours. So I've been packing all night.
Oh my God.
All right, so
Uh,
sorry to interrupt you, but we are just about to
right.
click if you're ready.
Well, you're used to that. You're used to the movement and the travel. I mean,
I'm not used to being up all night, leaving
well,
three
I
days
agree. Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah.
I'm not used to that.
Well, I hope you sleep on the plane. All right.
It's 3 days away.
Right.
All right, I'll go ahead and bring you back in for segment 2. All right, here we go. Going back in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hi, everyone, and we are back. We are talking to Dr. Gary Wallman in Australia, the presentation doctor, who is one of the foremost presenters in the country and in the world. He is a seasoned, highly experienced speaker, trainer, author, and internationally recognized communication skills coach. He helps leaders, teams, performers, entrepreneurs. He also performs himself. He helps people with conflict resolution and platform skills and has been doing this for many decades. And also, he provides people to break through their presentation issues. So, welcome back, Gary. All right.
Wonderful to be welcome, Patricia.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Tell me a little bit about your journey. From New York, blank, 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 all the way to Australia, and why you think your work has been so well received and has had that staying power all these years. So those are two questions, Gary.
For those of you who are listening, I'm watching Patricia also in a Zoom, and Patricia's hand movements, your hand movements just now, when you suggested about my moved from one side of the screen to the other. And that's exactly what has happened in my life. I've had a westward pull, a pull to move from New York, California, Hawaii, New Zealand, Australia, Bali, and
Wow.
Thailand. I've been moving west for over 5, 6 decades since I was 20. And in that, I'm aware that when I was living in California, there were so many people doing very similar, different kinds of work like myself. And I felt like I was preaching to the initiated. I
Mm,
felt a yearning to go to a place where I'm really was needed, not just wanted. I felt wanted in California and North America, but I felt needed. When I moved and I started visiting New Zealand and Australia, I realized that my Russian Jewish heritage and living in New York, my very gregarious, outspoken, kind of storytelling personality was very different from the stiff upper-lipped British mentality that's a bit held back
mm,
emotionally in the world.
mm,
Well, alchemically, I felt a balancing between my giving this encouragement for people to release patterns of holding back. That's been the epitome of my work all these years.
mm,
And in exchange, I feel like it's helped me create a bit more of a container and a feeling of self-containment that I needed because I was always so glib and effusive and expressive. That was
mhm.
what the gift of being in this part of the world. Why has my work been so successful? Well, I just answered it in terms of Australia and New Zealand because there's that held back mentality.
Yep.
Yet it's in everybody. Everyone has some version of holding back their
Mhm,
full authenticity, full expressiveness, their power, their joy. Something is an event or a series of events or patterns that occurred that every single human is able to take a stand to and then move beyond that. So I've created processes to assist speakers, developing speakers, to take a stand to those forces that have oppressed them. And they appreciate it because I'm doing way more than speech coaching. I'm connecting with their soul. I'm connecting with their wounded child and helping them turn inside out their inner wisdom that has been held inside for so
mm.
long. That's why it's become more and more successful.
Well, you write that you help people go on a journey from innocence to integration. Is that part of what you're talking about right now?
Yeah, and I know what you're saying because that was a particular comment that a world famous speaker from the National Speakers Association mentioned to a group that I was presenting many, many years ago. And he was saying, to help people discover and share the great it, the great the Tao that to speak from the inside out. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. From innocence to integration is another way of saying that to reconnect with innocence, even better, because I love playing with words, to reconnect with inner sense, the inner sense, and to
Interesting. Great.
multi-sensorize people's renewed self-talks as the court jester, which I've been for this and many other lifetimes, I help people enter a realm of play to sing their new affirmation. I'm creative, I'm playful, I'm transformational, or whatever their three key words would be. Whisper, shout, sing, mime, write, and it then becomes encoded in the muscle memory very swiftly, very sustainably.
Well, you're also called the archaeologist of the soul. And I think you're kind of explaining that, but go into that a little more.
When I was living in San Francisco in my early 20s, and I was receiving all kinds of body therapies, emotional release work as I was developing my own form, one of the things that I discovered was so much creativity that was buried inside me that started to come out. Songs, paintings, stories, plays, so much creativity that was buried within my own landscape.
Hmm.
And as a result, I made a decision at that age, this is over 50 years ago now, that I am going to devote my life to helping free the layers, like an archaeologist, of physical tension that are holding the wounded patterns in place, and
Hmm.
then to free the emotional self-talk that is also there binding a person to their
Hmm.
past.
Hmm.
Once that happens, physical, emotional, then the creative layers come out. So that's why I call it myself an archaeologist of the soul. I'm digging underneath the surface of the physical, emotional, and creative energies that are stored, now bound to release.
Right. Now you have a 9 square grid method to help people walk their talk, be authentic, get beyond so they can really share. Can you tell us about the 9 square grid?
Absolutely. Similar to what I mentioned to you in one of our conversations, I enjoy seeing people having spent so many years, thousands and thousands of hours navigating space on as a competitive champion springboard diver, by moving from left to right, as you did with your gestures earlier, this
Yeah.
is a way, as a speaker is facing the audience in the middle zone, the middle series of squares of this tic-tac-toe 9 square grid, that as a speaker faces the audience, from the audience's point of view, moving from left towards the right, this is what we in the English language are already trained when we write from left to right. We think of the future as moving to the right, exactly. So by consciously doing that, rather than haphazardly doing that, a speaker takes command of the stage and rivets, captivates the audience's attention. When I drop my voice and I slightly lean forward, which you can hear me doing with the sound in my voice, this is a way to share a secret or something intimate with an audience. That's the middle front row. And I've
Mm.
made different meanings for the all the different squares. The far
Mm.
away, the back right square, deep intuition, the back left square. The center square is present, of course, and then the front right square would be for my next point. And the front left square is I've been thinking about this for a long time, my intuition. But you know
Mm.
what? It actually doesn't matter that people follow my system. It matters that people follow their 9 square grid or whatever shape it is. I don't care. As long as it's consistent, just like I said with you earlier, then the speaker is choreographing the points, punctuating the points in specific places on the stage, training the audience to know what they're going to say before they even open their mouth.
Amazing. When you train executives, executives, you coach people, what do you find are the most common issues? Is it that they forget their lines? Is it that they just get nervous? Is it that they don't have eye contact with the audience? What is it that you find are common things that you help them work on?
Fear of failure, not looking good, showing that they may not have it all together in front of their peers. I remember, for example, I like giving stories. I was working, I was the first international presenter for the first national convention of the Australian Speakers Association, National Speakers Association in 1990, when I first came out here, early 1990s. And there was a particular man, he's deceased now, named Jack Hone. And he, executive type, dignified, diplomatic character. You'd look at him and you think, he's an ambassador to something. He has this tremendous presence. And I asked him, what do you want to work with? He said, well, I don't want to look like a fool in front of my peers. I can fool a lot of my audiences because they put me on a pedestal. But you, because it was his peers in the audience, you see right through me. You've been with me my whole career, 20, 30, 40 years. So I took out my jester's hat, which I have right here, and I had him put on my jester's hat. It happens
A
to be
court
April
jester's
Fool.
hat. It has many different colors.
It is red and green and black, and I'm wearing it now like it's like a crown for me. And I've been wearing
Yeah.
this for so long, you can see it looks natural. So I put it on, and I asked him to, skip around the room and say some silly things with the hat, and he couldn't do it. He took off the hat and he said, "That's not it. That's not what I'm afraid of. It's not about being a fool. What I'm really afraid of as an executive presenter
Hmm.
is that you do not know how much I care about you. You don't know how much your lives and my life has been interweaved over 20, 30 years, and how much I feel indebted to you, all of you here in this room. I care about you so much." And then he was full of
Wow.
tears in, heartfelt way. One person after another came running up to him in this group exercise that I was leading, saying, "Jack, I've seen you present in front of audiences all over the world, but I've never seen you present so authentically and vulnerably." About 2 months later, I got a message from him, a letter, and he said, "I don't know what you did with me on stage for those few minutes that you work with me, but now when I stand in front of audiences, I've released a certain hesitation that was there
Mm,
before, a certain
mm.
fear of being rejected or not seen, whatever it was. I'll never be the same, and I'm eternally grateful." What a beautiful, I had no idea I impacted him like that, but that was the feedback.
So
So
your work is
that's what,
really deep. Your work is really deep. And I mean, there's a very strong therapeutic aspect to your work because you're
totally.
helping people release things so that they can, you know, share what's really inside that sometimes is hidden. Yeah.
Exactly. That's why I call myself the presentation doctor, not to be cute or not to be fancy or formal. I always wanted to be a doctor, but I'm doing more than doctoring people's outer presentation. I'm helping them connect with their inner soul and their
Yeah.
inner passion and their inner grief, and transforming the negativity and
Mm.
experiences we've all had into something that is absolutely riveting, because they can take a stand about whatever it is that they're ashamed about or humiliated about or angry about. And it's very
So,
powerful.
so when I ask you, what are the most common mistakes speakers make? You talked more about how they feel, but are there things they do, stuttering or forgetting their lines, or do you think it all comes from kind of the inner confidence?
That's a lot in one sentence there, Patricia. A lot of what speakers do that in getting in their own way is, from what I see, is most speakers still are talking heads. They give all the right points. They don't give the stories. Skip
Yeah.
occasionally, and they certainly don't give the application. So I've created a formula, which is called the P formula, PEA. Imagine three apexes of a triangle that stand for these letters. P for the points a speaker makes, E for the examples that
Mhm.
multi-sensorize and
Right.
punctuate the points, and A, which is what most speakers forget and make mistakes about and don't do well, is the application, the connection, the relationship with the audience. instead of just talking to an audience, that's one of the things that most speakers are missing, a big mistake. So I teach this for each point, followed by one example and one application. Then let's move on to the next point. And that's what I call the cycle of communication. Most speakers do not do that.
And when you say application, how it applies to the audience.
Exactly. What's in it for me from the audience's point of view?
Incredible, Gary. All right, we're going to take a break. Tell people how they can find you. They can watch you on video. You have a YouTube channel. You have books. Tell us about that, and then we'll take a break and we'll do another segment.
Absolutely. I've just rebranded my website after 20 years, and I'm very proud to share mypresentationdoctor.com with you. And that has all kinds of links in there, all kinds of access to my YouTube channel, which is also quite engaging, that has performance art, presentation breakthroughs of all sorts. Those are two of the best ways. And of course, people can reach me to have a complimentary 20-minute or half an hour introduction to help them move from where they're stuck to where they're soaring with a feeling of ease and fluidity and creativity that they've never known before. So those three ways, my website, my YouTube channel, and a discovery call with me are probably the best ways to get through. We can put that in the notes afterwards and people can see that as well.
And what's the website again for people?
mypresentationdoctor.com.
Okay. And YouTube channel, same thing.
No, the YouTube channel is slightly different. And the YouTube channel is Mastering Presentation Skill. And then there's a few numbers that go afterwards. I'm going to have to look that up and tell you because I've never
Well, they can
memorized it.
find that on your website, right? The website will direct them to the YouTube channel.
I think that's the best way. There's a particular part of the website that is called Speaker's Profile. And when you look at the
Okay.
speaker's profile, there's the link to the YouTube channel. And of course, you're subscribing to the channel will give you access to the ongoing ability for you to be able to see new material as soon as I'm developing it as well.
Okay.
I can give you
All
that
right.
in just a second. I'm just looking it up to YouTube video, YouTube channel. Here it is. So it is, yeah, okay. It's Mastering Presentation Skill 4125.
Okay.
Yeah,
4125. Thank you.
yeah,
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back and talk to Dr. Gary Woolman right after the break, more about presenting, how we can be a great presenter, and what are some of the other things that we need to know to be really good speakers, inside and out. You're listening to the blah, blah, blah. I think I
Easy for
know
you
my
to say.
name, right? You're listening, and I'm the one that got sleep. You're listening to the Patricia Raskin Positive Living Show right here on voiceamerica.com. We'll be right back.
Okay, nicely done. All clear.
That was funny. Yeah, good. Well, good. I'm glad. I'm really glad we did this. All right, we've got one more segment left. It's 15 minutes. So, where would you like to go? You want to talk more about some strategy that people can use? What do you
Sure.
think, Gary?
Yep. Yep. We could do that. What would your audience be asking for right now, given that we've taken them down two different layers? What would you suppose they would say? Oh, well, how about what would they be asking for? This is
I
some of my
don't know. I
presentation
mean, I
coaching.
know if I were listening,
Yeah.
I'd probably want to hear another story. I'd
Okay.
want to hear a story maybe about someone that you really helped, who really, started out not having a lot of skills and ended up doing really well.
Mm,
I think that could be interesting.
okay.
Or maybe something in your own life where you learned your own lesson or something was hard for you, but you had the skills to work it through. I go
Mm,
through certain really hard things in my life, but it's not easy, but it's easier because I have the skill. It
yeah.
still hurts the same way. It still affects me the way it would affect an average person, but I'm turning it around faster because I have the skill.
Okay. I know what I'll talk about.
Good,
It's a personal experience.
good. I think that's always fascinating.
Mm, yeah. It was a turnaround
Now, I have a
time of my
personal
life.
question that's not on
Sure.
the air.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Have you always been on your own and single? Have you had a partner?
I've had 4 marriages.
Oh, well, I guess you have had partners.
I've had 4 marriages, no children. And now that I'm in my early to mid 70s, I really am much more comfortable in my all oneness, in my aloneness, than getting constantly entangled with even
Yeah.
the most wonderful people.
Did
I just look at
did different
changed my,
things, I'm curious for me, did
yeah.
different things end those relationships or was it all the similar thing?
Oh, they're all different. But the one thing that was the same was every woman that I've been close with have been in a certain way, shape, or form my muse. One is, had an ability who was a psychic, an intuitive, a tarot reader, a hand reader, a writer, a sculptor, a creator of graphic designs, and each one was a mentor of mine in a way that moved me creatively and to
Mm,
be even for example,
yeah,
one woman who I'm actually still communicating with now after who I'm going to see in about a week. I haven't seen her in 40 years. We were lovers in Hawaii. And now, 40 years later, because she helped me come out as a performing artist, she was used to
yeah,
that. And I was a scientist and an athlete. I
yeah.
wasn't used to. But the fact that she was giving me that freedom, that permissiveness to be able to express myself in a way that I never knew I could. Now, she is a video documentarist. She runs the Santa Barbara um, film and festival that takes place
Isn't that
every
wonderful?
and we're connecting more than we ever did before.
Isn't that
And she's
great?
still my muse, but she's been married and he died, and but we're connecting in a probably more high-minded way, given that we're on the
Isn't
same
that great?
page.
What a great story. I love that story. I love that. Oh, I
So I
love
hate to
those stories.
interrupt.
They're very heartwarming and it gives
Thank
everybody
you.
hope, It gives us all hope. All right, we're going to move on. We ready, Matt?
Ready to come back?
Always
All
ready.
right, here we go. Coming back for the final segment
Yeah.
in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hi, everyone, and we are back. I'm Patricia Raskin, and we're talking to Dr. Gary Woolman, PhD, the presentation doctor, who is a highly seasoned, experienced speaker, trainer, author, and internationally recognized communication skills coach. He's worked with managing directors, management teams, presenters, performers, entrepreneurs. He's been a coach. He's also a performer, as well as being a presenter and just an amazing background over many decades. He started in New York, and now he's in Australia after decades of movement west, as he says. And welcome back, Gary.
I
You
appreciate it.
said
Thank you.
to me during the break, what do I think my listeners would like to hear in this last segment? And I
Hmm.
said, Gary, if I were a listener, I think I'd want to hear two things. One, I'd like to hear a story about somebody you worked with who really, was having real issues with speaking. And because they worked with you, they really turned around. And secondly, maybe a story about you, how, you had to turn yourself around even though you had all the skills. Maybe it wasn't
Yeah,
so easy. All
okay.
right, you got the floor, Gary,
I can do this.
with my hands. You got the floor.
I see that. The story that keeps coming up every time you mention it is the very first story that's in my book, both the audio version and the first chapter of Get Up, Stand Up for Your Life, my book that I wrote that's on Amazon and audible.com. And this story is when I first began to visit New Zealand. and this part of the world, Australasia, I was doing these presentation seminars, and I was new at it. Yet I was very drawn to do it. And I met a man who was an international hypnotist and speaker and quite successful already. And somehow I was flipping through the pages of the yellow pages, and his name stood out. It had a big ad. And I called. I said, "Hey, I'm doing a seminar. I'm a presentation coach." I didn't call myself the presentation doctor yet. I hadn't had developed that confidence yet to call myself the presentation doctor. And he was really excited that I called. Why are you so excited? No one's responded to that $10,000 yellow page ad. You're the first person that ever responded. Get yourself over here quickly. I can use your help. He was not arrogant. He was so willing. And then I saw him presenting in front of a group of people at an introductory class that he wanted to have join his hypnosis series. And he was shouting to them. He was shouting to them. And it was so off-putting to me. I spoke with him the next day when I had a private session with him. "Well, who are you shouting at, Brian?" And he looked at me like a deer with headlights in its face. It's like suddenly he's like stared into space. And he said to me, "Oh my goodness, my father.
I knew
I've
you were
been
going to
wanting
say that. I knew you were going to say mother or father.
I've been wanting my father to hear me all my life, and I've been screaming." And suddenly his voice choked, his voice softened, and he was able to basically come up with a new affirmation. "It's safe and easy for me to speak with gentleness, with ease." And it brought out his caring. He suddenly felt through my interaction with him that his father heard him as we did this role enactment. That was a really powerful moment in his life and in my career. Really a
Wow.
big change. When I
Wow.
work with people to then create a new self-talk, like I said earlier in some of our earlier segments, I have them sing it, shout it, whisper it, mouth it, write it down, do it in a mirror. So it truly encodes and becomes the new modus operandi.
Right.
So that's
Right.
the strategy that works after defining a new mission statement, self-talk.
Right. Is the practice.
Now,
All
for
right. How about your
myself,
own story?
yeah,
Yes.
I'm about to say that. Good timing. 9 years ago, on September 9th, I remember I was going to be making a big presentation. It was going to be televised to a large group of people live in the audience. And I couldn't get out of bed. I was in such pain. I could barely move. What in the world? I
Mm.
didn't know. I had felt a burning in my body before, from my leg to my lower back, but I had no idea. When I was presenting, someone in the audience said, "I think you better get this checked. It seems like it's a little bit more than a muscle wound, muscle injury." So I did. I had a CRP, creative reactive protein, immune test to see what level of infection and an MRI. The normal for that is 4, and I had 400. They said
Oh.
to me, "You're going into sepsemia in about 4 hours, and you're going to die unless we do emergency spinal surgery." So they did, and it saved my life. They cut out part of my spine. I had a laminectomy, and I was laying on my back for those 10 days, Mr. Acrobat, Mr., so full of life force, so full of
Mm.
expressiveness, and I was just feeling that, oh my goodness, am I going to come out of this as a
Mm.
gimp or some form of handicap? The doctor turned to me and he said, "You really waited a bit long for us to operate. We thought we were going to lose you, and maybe the best that would happen, you'd come out as a quadriplegic." And I go, "Thank
Mm.
God they didn't tell me." So
Mm.
what I'm leading to in this story is I was listening to lots of beautiful, high-minded affirmations, stories, storytellers, sharing about turning life around at difficult times in life. And I chose to upgrade that any time my body, my finances, my relationships, or anything in my life breaks down, I choose to upgrade. That's 9 years ago. And that has transformed my life. That working, not just philosophy, that joyful discipline practice. Something breaks down, I break through, I upgrade. And
What does that
it's that,
mean? Give an example of the upgrade. Give an example of that, Gary.
well, I was very focused at the time on helping many other people become better presenters, freeing their creativity, and I was focused outwardly. Yet, because this so much impacted my own health and vitality, I chose to give myself the attention that I was giving to everybody else through more internal practices, yoga. Here where I live in the top of the mountains, permaculture community, I do waterfall sound meditations. I do a lot more for me. I'm not so much focused on helping everybody else in order to feel value, in order to feel self-worth, in order to feel valuable and feel worthwhile. So that has turned around my attention from the outside to the inside. The very thing that I've been teaching and preaching to everybody else all these years, it's an inside job. So that's how I turn this around.
Wow. Wow. What would you like? What would you like our listeners to get from this? I mean, if they get one thing, you've talked about a lot of things, but it's not just about presentation, it's about something deeper. What would you like people to get?
If I were a listener listening to this show, any of the segments of this show, and hearing yourself and me speak, I would like to see as a receiver, as a listener, I would reach a place of hearing Dr. Gary speak, and I would say to myself, I can do this. I can free my voice, my message, my wisdom in the world. I
Mm,
have a sacred responsibility to share it. Instead of playing small and keeping it to myself, I feel inspired to bring the depths of my passion and my precious presence out into the world because my life is not about me, it's about serving humanity and includes me. But I feel that this man, Dr. Gare, when he just got on now, he's given me through his storytelling and through his examples ways for me to believe that I can do this too. I'm ready to step out, to stand up, to show up as I never have before.
mm, beautiful. All right. And people can find you at the present.
mypresentationdoctor.com. And there you'll also find a place where you can look at what's called the speaker's profile, and that's access to my keynote presentation, a video of that, and my YouTube channel, which is Mastering Presentation Skill 4125. And certainly you're subscribing to that. I'm happy to also give you a 20-minute complimentary journey into how you can move to the next level, whether you're an advanced and seasoned speaker yourself, or developing speaker, or scared about standing and being seen. I'm really pleased and honored to be able to have this chance to help you get to that place.
Mm. Gary, thank you so much. Thank you,
It's a pleasure.
especially for getting up so early, a day ahead, not sleeping, and being at the top of your game in sharing your great wisdom and inspiration. And there's a bit of magic. There's a bit of magic in what you in
Thank you.
your
Thank you, Patricia.
in what you're talking about. So thank you so much, and stay on the line. It was an honor and a pleasure to have you today, to work with
Shall
you.
we speak a few minutes after this is
Yes, we
over? I'm
will.
happy to do
We
that.
will.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. That wraps up this edition of the Patricia Raskin Positive Living Show. To find me, you write to me, Patricia at patriciaraskin.com. If you'd like a copy of my newsletter so you can see the incredible guests like Gary that I have on each week. The newsletter mostly talks about the guests. Now, if you would like to get your positive message out, and you're thinking about, really sharing this, because I've interviewed over 5,000 people in my career, I'd love to help you put together a podcast. So contact me, patricia@patriciaraskin.com. Remember, stay healthy, stay happy, get the support you need, and know you can make your dreams come true. Until next time, I'm Patricia Raskin. Bye for now.